We continue reviewing 2020 from different angles, and Warren Anderson, he joins us now to speak from his capacity of being the UWI St. Augustine Guild of Students President. So, season's greetings, Prezi. We can't start without addressing you and that piece of hairstyle you have there.
Season's greetings to you, to the entire nation, the viewers, and of course, students of the UWI. It's Christmas, so Merry Christmas and season's greetings to all of you. We here at the Guild of Students, we like to take part in the festivities, even amongst the adversity that we face.
And with that in mind, though, if you knew then what you do now about 2020, would you still have been encouraging people to advance with Anderson?
Yes, most definitely, because part of my platform is the ability to be resilient. And I never ask for anything from my constituents that I don't offer myself. So I definitely would have been making that call for advancement with Anderson.
And with that in mind, though, how has 2020 been for you personally as a student? Even before we started to talk about Guild President and Prezi, in terms of like your personal experience, how has 2020 treated you as a student of the UWI?
Well, I mean, I like that question. It's difficult at times to separate the two. But as a student, I have to say, entering a master's program in project management, the facilitators in my program, they are excellent. As we grapple and try to communicate between students and staff with the new normal, they have been very responsive in terms of what we've been offering as students. And by we, I mean the class and the project management class. So as a student, I have seen where the university has been accommodating. Outside of the university itself, doing school from home could be quite challenging and could really create a toll on one's mental health, and I am not exempt from this level of adversity. I've certainly been through it in finding time to focus on the work that is before me in my master's program, and it's quite a difference being a master's student from a bachelor student.
Definitely, as some people say, there's levels to this. But I want to get into that, the aspect of mental health. We do that a little later in the conversation. But you spoke about your experience as an individual, as a student. You say sometimes it's kind of hard not to be able to separate the two. But do you find this expressed, or some of your experiences expressed the same way by your constituents that you've continued to serve throughout the year?
Yeah, and to borrow from your language, there are definitely levels to this in itself, because we have, as part of the St. Augustine campus, we have students that are regional and international outside of the Trinidad space. So whereas we are confined by the borders on the inside, they have to interact with the programs on the outside. And so our regional constituents, certainly it's been quite a strain on them. Not only do they have to grapple with the distance learning like the rest of us, but the services that are available, sometimes there are some differences that make it difficult to get to our students that are beyond the shores. And certainly for not only in the delivery of these services, but I mean, sometimes interacting with your classmates and that kind of thing, it's difficult. So we have regional students who have been grappling with issues. We have us here, undergrad and postgrad. And the complaints across the board are the same. Connectivity and use of devices. For those of us who were getting by with our laptop and our tablet, and it was the world to us, it was the greatest thing before. Now you realize how much campus life has made up in the delivery of course content. We don't have the ability to go to the library. Even in exams, we can't experience the serenity and tranquility of the examination space. So what you have to do now is really, you have to struggle and find that time where you can focus. And if you're at home, you're met with all the challenges of being a member of a home, right? While having to pursue your education. So it comes down to negotiating with that home space as well, which is more difficult for some people because some of us have, a library room with air conditioning and the connectivity is out of this world, while the rest of us, some people are living in the same room with their family, and they have to negotiate that space. And some people might view it as unfair, depending on how they view their studies, and other people might, they might be down for the journey. As they said to many of us, doing your degree, you're not doing it by yourself. Now, in the COVID space, you rarely get to see that. You're not doing it by yourself, and you need buy-in from everybody in your household or everybody at whatever space that you're working in order to pursue this degree. So that's on the more silent side of things, because can't make those kind of complaints necessarily to administration, but where it does convert into administrative issues is where in the classroom space, teachers and lecturers, they want to get that interaction with students, and so they're asking for you to turn on your camera, but perhaps your socioeconomic dynamic at home doesn't really allow it, or if you even try to veer into that kind of interaction, it can cause some embarrassment. So there's that, and there's the delivery of the course content as both students and lecturers try to navigate what is fair. Lecturers confined by what makes the program retain its integrity and its accreditation, while students, really looking for the ease up because of the several different factors that we have to face. So the guild is the go-between, of course, so we have to be consistently telling these stories to the administration, and what we've discovered too is that, it shouldn't be that we have to discover it, but it's a good reminder that staff and admin, they're human too, so we're all trying to figure this out together, and we complain, yes, but there's a great level of compassion that we expect, and we also have to put into it as well.
And that also raises the issue of collaboration or of research, which you've done as well. But one of the things that people have been singing a song, money worries, anywhere you turn is the same thing. And has the pandemic impacted funding opportunities for students, or just the situation as it would be with regard to grants, bursaries, and these kind of things?
Well, yes, funding is affected, and because you asked funding and left it kind of general, I'll take some steps before I go into government tertiary education funding, because within the university space, there are different opportunities for education funding in the form of internal scholarships and that kind of thing. What we've seen is that for the most part, the university has, maintained that kind of negotiation. So there are people who have benefited from internal scholarships. There are also donors who donate, and we are very thankful for these donors. Many of them alumni, and some just members of the private sector who donate in various ways. And it helps to contribute to the pie that students, have to bear the financial burden that we have to bear throughout it. So in the internal space, things are somewhat all right. The university has a global giving campaign that they do every year, and it calls for individuals to contribute to it. And the response from individuals have been great. So some people have been able to benefit in some way from these grants and these bursaries. And the bursary section of the university has always been putting out the calls for students to take part in these bursary programs and these scholarship programs. So I want to believe that, people have been offering themselves for these grants, and that it has been going well so far. But to get to the heart of the matter now, which is the gate.
No, but no. Warren, I want you to save that piece so we start that conversation on the other side. So we take a short break. We're talking with the UWI Guild President, Warren Anderson. Stay with us. We return with more. Welcome back. We are speaking with UWI Guild President Warren Anderson. It's been a very interesting year from all accounts, but one of the things that has been shaken up a little bit is the gate funding. And Warren, I closed the door just before you started on it, but I'm opening it up again. Thank you.
Right. So, thank you, DK. So, yes, gate, I'll go as far as to say, even before the pandemic, we anticipated some sort of review of GATE, right? Since the 2014 review, the global economy has been experiencing recession, and we here in Trinidad and Tobago, we're not exempt from what happens on a macroeconomic level. So, you know, we expected that something would have to happen. Nobody could predict that the pandemic would multiply those happenings by 10 or even 100 in some instances. So that is where we knew that we had to make some intervention as the UE Guild and seek all forms of consultation with the ministry as soon as the news came to us. Nothing could prepare. So even though we knew that there would be some changes coming, nothing could prepare us totally for the kind of changes that were made. However, I had chance on behalf of the Guild of Students to send a message in a bottle somewhat to the government, which really asked for some leeway, a grace period, right, between the announcement of the budget and perhaps the next cycle, the next financial cycle, right? So one of the things that we noticed off the bat when the news came was that this grace period was allowed. That is to say, people in their programs currently are able to remain in those programs and finish with gate coverage to the going through the regular system. However, the only the major sore point of it was that those in postgraduate programs, their funding would be cut in August 2021. Now, this is great for some people because they will finish their postgraduate programs by the time August 2021 rolls over. However, you're going to see some people who are in postgrad programs that will not be ending in a year, or the duration of the program itself is not a year long. So we were quite concerned about these persons. Following that, we look forward to any opportunity for consultation with the Honorable Minister of Education, Dr. Nayan Gatsby-Dolly. And so what we did as the Guild of Students, we sent a letter inviting the minister to have a meeting with us. We also got invitation to the national consultation, which I did attend with my postgraduate representative and vice president. And on top of that, we were made aware of the activities that were offered to our comrades in the Faculty of Humanities pursuing the education programs. So there was some consultation there where they're trying to get as much information as possible to bolster the decision making in the program. So when we got wind of these things, we were quite pleased to see that at least the consultation is happening. After the fact, yes, which was not satisfactory, but we tend to want to focus here on the future as the Guild of Students. So we said, listen, we got the grace period. These consultations are beginning to roll out, right? At least in our mind, we take it as a rollout, the beginning of more to come. And so in seeking further consultation with the minister, we received acceptance of this meeting. And I'm happy to say that we had a great meeting with the minister that happened on last Monday, right? And it went well. We had a full agenda, very well organized, and we were all very courteous and even joyous at some moments in the spirit of the season, of course. But we were very assertive in our position on tertiary education funding.
No, but it's one thing to have a conversation, Warren, but at the same time, where do you see it going from the consultation, the conversation? And I'm very happy that you make out yourself and saying that you're going into project management, because looking at the fruit while you have the seed in your hand, what are some of those incremental steps that you need to take to get from where you are to where you want to be with regard to the students, education, and this process?
Well, I mean, that's a great question. And believe it or not, we also asked the same question at the meeting, because we want to know what are the key indicators of success that the government is really observing in order to make these incremental steps themselves. And I mean, we were informed for the most part that given that, you know, the situation is so fluid, that these things are being revised. However, we have, you know, when we sought this meeting is because we saw for ourselves how things should develop, at least on our end. So what we asked for is not only this national agenda that should come to us from the Ministry of Planning, right? But we did go into the meeting asking for more grace for the postgraduate students, and certainly for those entering their undergraduate programs. So in terms of incremental steps, what we wanted to see initially was further protection for those who are still in these programs, the postgraduates especially, but will not get the coverage. And the response was reflective of what we heard at the consultation, although we got some more details. So it was really that given all the constraints that is on the government, etc., the loan facilities that are coming, that will be available to students in the form of the help loan, right? There will be attempts to make access to the help loan easier, right? This is important for us because some persons who would have attempted to access the help loans would have experienced some setbacks in terms of how do they guarantee the loan? Because of course, with any loan, you need someone to guarantee that you can pay it back, or at least, you know, stand in your place if you default on the loan, or there's a threat of you defaulting, right? So the help loans are done through the banking sector, and so of course the bank, being rigid by nature, would make these calls on the government. So we were happy to hear that the first step in this thing is really making access to these loans easier, right? What we would like to see also is that these loans are income contingent, meaning that should I access the loan and my income is only upon, you know, graduating with my program, that my income should not be threatened on a big level to pay back this loan, because we don't want to mirror the situation in countries like America and such, where student debt is really huge and it really makes a negative impact on your quality of life. We don't want that for our graduates, and we don't want any of our students in programs now to be wary of such a situation. So that is one angle, that is the first step that we want to see, the loan situation sorted. And in so far as we had this meeting, it seems as if we expect it to be properly managed. The other step that we want to see is further consultation. Now, yes, we can consult. However, what we have said to the minister, and what we've been saying all along, is by the time the next budget comes around, it should be that it is not unlike the decisions that were made this time around. We want to see that next time around there's a complete 360 consultation with student-led organizations.
And Warren, the fact that you're talking about the next time around, that also starts me wanting to say the next time we have a conversation, we get into some of the things like the survey that you did, the further meeting that you had. This is with your constituents. We also want to talk about mental health. But sadly, our time for this conversation has ended. But thank you very much for starting the conversation, one of many, hopefully. This is Warren Anderson, president of the UWI Guild of Students for St. Augustine. We want to thank you for being a part of this conversation. And on behalf of everyone in the news team, thank you for tuning in. I'm DK Ronstar. Good night.